Welcome to another episode of Law Unpacked, where we explore the intersections of law, business, and innovation. I'm your host, Sean DeVries. Today, we're focusing on a critical aspect of the legal practice, the client intake process. Efficient and empathetic intake procedures are vital for building trust and ensuring client satisfaction. Joining us today is Rich Mack, founder of 3 Pillars Consulting. With over 3 decades of experience in sales and marketing, Rich has been instrumental in transforming intake processes for law firms, including my own. Rich, welcome to Law Unpacked.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Rich, can you share what inspired you to establish 3 Pillars Consulting and how your background in sales and marketing influenced this venture?
Well, this is a situation where I was transitioning from one job to the other, and I was working in bankruptcy space, and I had some personal life issues come up that where I was in a financial rut with my debt, credit, everything was bad, and I didn't know where to turn. And I started learning about bankruptcy law, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not as bad as like Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune makes it sound. And so, there's people out there that need help. And so I was able to use my background in business and sales and connect with some attorneys and help them with their intake process. I started helping one attorney, and we did extremely well. He went from starting his practice when bankruptcies were down nationwide, record low bankruptcies, and we had a very successful practice throughout the entire pandemic. And so I got some recognition. I just built relationships, such as meeting you over the years. And I just found a way to hire more people, duplicate myself, and create a team and offer the service to multiple attorneys across the country.
Well, I always like to say, you mentioned that you were in a financial rut, but I always tell my client, bad things happen to good people, and it can happen to anybody.
Right.
So can you explain what the legal intake process is and why it's important for clients seeking legal assistance?
What we do is we essentially mainly help people overcome the misconceptions of bankruptcy, make them feel that it's okay to be in the situation. They're not alone. I think people are always shocked. I would tell them, you know what, hundreds of thousands of Americans file bankruptcy every year, and it's nothing to be shameful. I tell them, you probably know people who have filed bankruptcy and you just don't know it.
Well, what are some of the common misconceptions that people have when you're talking to them?
One of the biggest ones, and it just lights my nervous system on fire because it's essentially just done by a big manipulation from big business, is that bankruptcy will hurt your credit for 7 or 10 years. I think that's the biggest one. People think they're going to lose their house and lose their car and end up homeless, carless, and penniless in bankruptcy, which the exact opposite is true, as we know.
Sure.
Yeah, but the general public.
Once those bills stop, people can start getting actually some money in their account to do things that they want to do with.
I think one of the biggest shockers that people just jaw hits the floor is to tell them that you can actually get a car loan as early as the day after you file bankruptcy, and in most cases get a better rate the day after you file bankruptcy than they can in your current situation.
That's we tell people that all the time, but that baffles people, right? There's such a stigma around bankruptcy and how it's horrible that people don't even know how to use that as a tool to help them and put them in a better situation.
We hear these things, and we hear that all these celebrities or famous people, well, that person filed bankruptcy. I'm like, okay, look at their life now. Are they better off? Are they well off? Or is their life get bad? And it's never their life got bad.
It's really, again, if you can use that tool, it really can change somebody's life instantly.
Right. Well, even businesses, you see these businesses that file bankruptcy. Oh, the business, they made all these bad business mistakes. They're filing bankruptcy. But okay, watch the business in the next couple of years. What happens to their business? And it kind of helps them stay alive, whether it's business or individual bankruptcy. It literally, I was just talking earlier to Adrienne Hines, and she was saying that people will literally throw themselves off of a bridge instead of just solve the problems with the bankruptcy.
It's really unfortunate that that's kind of the stigma that's being put into people's heads.
Yeah.
Especially by these, creditors.
Yeah. Well, even the media doesn't really, this business is filing bankruptcy. Look how bad it is. They kind of make this big story. But if you really understand bankruptcy, how it's going to help that person, it's actually, oh, wow, they made a good decision. They're taking a clear path to get out of debt and revive their business. And it's not just the business. It's all the employees and the staff and everybody that they have hired. So I keep referencing business, but the same is true if it's just your family and your life or your loved one. I would tell anybody listening, blow this up, share this with everybody, share it, hit whatever you're listening to this on, share it on your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, share it everywhere. I post things just on my own accounts, and you never know who you're going to help by just sharing this information.
So the next question, how can clients best prepare for their first meeting with a law firm to ensure a productive conversation?
I say pick up the phone and make the call. Every law firm does things a little bit differently, but I find people are so afraid just to pick up the phone and call a law firm. So when you pick up the phone and call us, you're typically getting me or one of my highly trained team members, and we're just here to answer questions, a free, easy conversation. And then in that conversation, we can educate you, give you the information that you need to make a healthy decision on the best way to move forward. I find most of the calls, a bankruptcy is the easiest solution. One question we ask ourselves is, what is the quickest, cheapest, and easiest way to help this person get out of debt and fix their credit? Most of the time, it's a bankruptcy, just because it's easy that way. All other options in the industry are expensive, no guaranteed outcome. So the best way to prepare is just pick up the phone, call the expert, and let the experts guide you through the process. It's that easy.
So why is it important for clients to communicate their preferred method of contact? And how does that affect their experience with the law firm?
The preferred method of contact for me, it's all about communication. So what's the easiest way to communicate with that person? It's always best to find out what their needs are. People working remotely, and so it's a vital part of it.
And oftentimes you'll do consultations late at night or even on the weekends, right? When you're available or when the client's available.
Right now we have about a 12-hour per day window, and sometimes that expands. And then also on the weekends, we do try to give ourselves a break here and there.
So during that intake call, how can clients best ask about the attorney's fees and what it's going to cost to do the paper?
Well, first of all, when you call, we ask some basic questions, so we help determine which type of bankruptcy or which chapter of bankruptcy is going to be the best fit. And then we can talk to have a better idea of what type of bankruptcy is going to fit the shoe, I guess. And then from there, we can talk about the fees and what the expectations are as far as fees and costs. And it's always a lot less than the debt. So it's a good solution.
And that's great to really ensure that our clients are prepared and they know what they're going in for. So not only do we go over fees, but we also try and ensure that they're fitting in that right mold. I always like to say a Chapter 7 is the gold standard of bankruptcy. That's the one that's going to liquidate their debts, essentially. And then a Chapter 13 is what we call our wage earners plan, right? Yeah. Where they're making payments towards their debts. And we typically reserve that for our higher income folks or folks that have unprotectable assets that they want to be able to keep throughout the bankruptcy process.
Yeah, so these are all the things that we review in the process. And so, if somebody's people think they're going to lose their car, call and ask questions. Most people don't lose their car unless they want to in most situations. But unprotected assets, these are all the things that, the common man doesn't understand. We don't know what we don't know. And I always tell people, lean into the law. The law is there to protect us. There's protection when we use the law. If you're using any other solution to try to solve your problem with debt, credit, or finances, it's probably not going to be that good.
What signs should clients look for during the intake process to determine if a law firm is the best fit for their needs?
Oh, I like that question. Typically, all bankruptcy attorneys, the bankruptcy process, from my opinion, it's black and white, cut and dry. Any attorney can write a bankruptcy case. However, there's attorneys that take it a step further. They want to solve all of your problems. If you call a law firm and they're only talking to you about, hey, we can get you out of debt with bankruptcy. But the law firms who take it to the next level, such as Attorney DeVries here, they offer credit rebuilding solutions after the bankruptcy. They want to watch your credit, make sure that your creditors go away and stay away. It happens to 43% of people that file bankruptcy. If they're not asking you specific questions about your car, if they're not making it affordable to pay for the bankruptcy and make the process easy. If they make you do a lot of work on your own, there's certain things that you got to do, but the law firm should be doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But I say those compassionate services, if they're not talking to you about life after bankruptcy and what will happen after bankruptcy, I would assume that they're probably what we call a filing mill. where they're just trying to do as little work possible for as much money as the client is willing to pay. So look for compassion and that they're going to solve all of your problems, not just do the bankruptcy.
So how does empathy play a role in the intake process, and why is it important for clients to feel understood and supported from the outset?
As I like that. So actually part of why I have my business and why I exist is we're not attorneys. And I know for me, we all look at attorneys as these highly educated, highly successful people who kind of put this on a different level as us. And so it can be nerve-wracking to call somebody when we're at a low point where we can't pay our bills, creditors are coming after us. So I've been in your shoes. Everybody that works for me, I either know them personally, they become to me from a friend of a friend. I have family members that work for me. And so the empathy part of it, we've all been there. Everybody has a story. We've been there. So the empathy part of it is it's okay to be in the situation and there's a solution and we can help you get out of it.
So are there any red flags clients should be aware of during the intake process that might indicate the law firm might not be the right fit for them?
Like I said, if they're not talking to you about life after bankruptcy, preparing you for that, I feel like that's huge. And also, if they're kind of humming and hawing, if they're not speaking directly to you, if they're not taking the time, if they feel like they're so busy, if you get the feeling the attorney's so busy that they can't talk to you or whoever's answering the phone, then I feel like that's when you need the most attention is right in that initial, where the relationship begins in that initial conversation. So
What advice would you give to clients to help them feel more confident and empowered during that intake process? Because it's a scary thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, picking up that phone you said was number one. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But how can they feel, again, empowered and that they can move forward with this comfortably?
I would say when you get the right information and they show you a clear path to get out of debt and what the end of it's going to look like. And so that's what we do. We kind of hold your hand through the entire process, make sure that you're comfortable with it. We kind of baby step you into it. Because even I feel like people are so aware and so they're so cautious about, oh my gosh, is this a scam? When you call a law firm, I have yet to hear of somebody pretending to be a lawyer or pretending to be a law firm to scam somebody. So everybody seems to be very skeptical. And so just if you're making sure that the law firm is legit and licensed with the Bar Association, so you can't fake that stuff. So, but also just ask the right questions, making sure that they're going to take care of your problems, understanding your situation. We ask questions about, hey, how many kids do you have? What are your finances? What's your current income? We help find everything that we can to provide solutions with our team. Other law firms don't do that. So if they're not talking to you about those kind of details and getting personal with you, and so if you don't feel like they genuinely care about you as a person, I say that's a big red flag.
So how can clients ensure they receive timely responses and feel heard during that intake process?
Don't be afraid to ask any questions. The more transparent you are, the more details you give. I've had a couple of calls where this person lied to me about their income because they thought if they told me they make less income, then that would help them qualify for a different type of income. And so just make sure you don't lie. And then also people are like, well, I kind of have this issue. I'm not sure. I know it's hard to talk about those things, but the more information, the better, the more we understand. You hire a lawyer, the lawyer works for you. He's there as your teammate and your guide to protect your best interest. So the more we know, the more we can protect.
Well, that brings up a great point. When you're going through the bankruptcy process, if you say I only make, let's say 50,000, well, we're going to need to see the paperwork to prove your income. So if it's really 100,000, you might as well go back and say it's 50,000.
Everything is verified, so don't try to lie.
So I always like to ask a question based on technology because part of my podcast always wants to focus on technology. So what role does technology play in modernizing the intake process? And how can clients benefit from these advancements?
Well, one of the best things is I can take calls from anywhere in the world, essentially. So we make it easy to communicate. We make it easy to send your information. Technology has simplified the process. I think one of the great things that came from the pandemic is it taught us all that we can do this from anywhere in the world. We can all work remotely. Most court hearings in most jurisdictions across the country are still doing remote hearings. So you can get through the entire bankruptcy without even having to walk into a courtroom.
Or an attorney's office, for that matter.
Office, exactly, yeah.
So how does Three Pillars Consulting tailor the intake process to meet the unique needs of individuals of different legal practices?
whatever the issue is, we identify the issue, we educate ourselves, we know the current issues, we know everything that's going on, and we are experts. We pride ourselves in being expert. If we happen to have a new hire that may not understand, we have like ask questions. There's always a resource or a tool. I even have attorneys at my fingertips, so if I get stumped on a question, which hasn't happened in a while, hey, I just need to verify this real quickly, and the attorneys respond. So I just feel that's the best way to do that.
Well, what steps can clients take if they feel their concerns aren't being adequately addressed during the intake process?
I say opening up to talk, ask the questions, communicate. I feel like we're all adults, and when we understand each other and communicate, it's good. If you communicate your needs and the attorney's not addressing those things or responding appropriately, you don't know this, but you can move on.
And so what are some ways that potential filers can help verify the credibility and reliability of the law firm during that intake process? Are there any questions they should ask?
One thing, like I said, trust but verify. Everything can be verified. Go look at some of the reviews. Look at the good reviews and see the negative reviews, what the negative reviews say. Sometimes you can't please everybody. Everybody has mistakes. And so I look at those Google reviews and I'm like, okay, what are the low reviews? Why are they saying this? If it's like, oh, well, they didn't call me back. That could have been a phone issue. We don't know whose phone was the problem. There's a lot of various issues, but if it was something very specific and egregious, I think that's one way to verify that it's going to be a good attorney and that's good use of your time. As far as asking questions, again, ask, are you going to help me recover from bankruptcy? Help me build my credit? What are you going to do for me? What services do you provide after the bankruptcy that are going to benefit me? What we don't know, and I'm sure any of you listening, you probably don't even know what questions to ask. So always ask, do you offer any services after the bankruptcy is over to help me recover and rebuild my life? I think those are some good ones.
And what final tips would you offer to clients to help them navigate the legal intake process with confidence and clarity?
Do what your attorney says. When they need something, provide it. Follow him. They do all the heavy lifting. They're on a time crunch. They're on the schedule. So if you do your part, that it makes it very easy on the attorney. So I'd say trust the process, trust the law, trust the experts, and let us guide you through the process.
Well, Rich, thank you for your time today and sharing your insights into the legal intake process. Your expertise highlights the importance of clear communication, empathy, and preparation in establishing a strong attorney-client relationship. For our listeners, remember that the intake process is your opportunity to share your story and set the foundation for your legal journey. Don't hesitate to ask questions, express your concerns, and ensure you feel comfortable with the law firm that you choose. Thank you for tuning in to Law Unpacked. Until next time, stay informed and empowered. I'm Attorney Sean. See you next time.